Hello everybody, welcome back to ZOHD Stuff, and today we are back with the Drift. Now, I went to fly the Drift for its maiden flight, and we had a few issues. Number one aileron wouldn't work, and number two, even though it was meant to be in full pass-through mode, which means that nothing operates on the plane, it's just what I put in goes to the plane. There's no iNav stuff involved at all. Didn't work. Like, I was holding my hand and the gyro was moving, so clearly something was wrong in that regard. Now, in terms of the aileron, look at this one. Yes, as you might be able to see, there is one peg missing. So somehow putting it together, I snapped off one of the pegs. Now, you can't buy them on their own. You have to buy it as sort of like a ZOHD Drift, like small parts package. They have like the big long elevator horn. You have this bag of bits and this other bag of bits. And this is the part they actually need. You only get one for each side, and they are different. So if this side breaks on this side again, I have to buy another whole 10 or 12 pound set of goods to have the one part that I need out of it. This is why I do not like this system on pretty much anything. It's usually a problem. Just do what Multiplex do. It's fine having the standard servo horn or servo glued there, and then we just plug it in and tuck it underneath. Excellent, fantastic, brilliant. Thank you. So I now need to take this plane apart, fix this part, and then we need to decide where we go from there. I have a 3-plan idea. And my handwriting is terrible. It's because I'm not concentrating, more just scrolling it down. So, plan A is basic fix and try again. So that is just fixing this, figuring out why I was confused about the gyro, and go from there. If that fails, mostly on the gyro section, I'm going to rip out the R9 system. Basically, with the plan A, I want to fix it, get it working, and go from there about swapping it to TBS and put it on the Radiomaster and all of that stuff. And possibly removing some mode and stuff. That's just going to be the easiest to do to get this in the air and see if iNav's half decent or not. Plan B, which is probably going to be the one that we end up doing, is if this just doesn't work and I get fed up, I'm going to rip out the R9, put in the TBS diversity receiver in, and move it over to the Radiomaster, and I'm going to completely format iNav on the flight controller, and instead of going through Matthew Ogborn's settings, I'm going to do Painless 360 tutorial, because I recently watched that and I went, oh god, it's that easy. The problem with Matthew Ogborn is he goes through every setting and tells you what to do, whereas in order to get a plane in the air you have to do about 1/10 of all the settings that are possibly there. So you get all confused and bogged down in all these billions of different settings, whereas Painless 360s, funnily enough, seems fairly painless. So if all else fails, I'm going to reformat iNav and go through his tutorial to set it up, instead of just copying and pasting Matthew Ogborn settings. Nothing against Matt, but I think that might be the best thing to go for me. And plan C is to rip out everything to do with iNav and go for something else. Maybe if the SNL Owl is good, I can get hold of another one of those, or a Copilot and a tiny OSD. I've got that in the drawer that I could use, but just completely fuck off iNav. Can't be arsed with it. So for now, the first step really is to try and take this wing apart and see what we can do. I'll be back very shortly. Alrighty then, so first things first, let's have a look at fixing this faulty wing, making sure this is the right one. Yep. So if you can see, there is actually screw there, screw there. I've cut a little bit of foam away because it looked like it come out the mould a little bit too much on. This knife is about knackered. So, get that out of the way so it stops trying to focus on it. First step is trying to remove these screws that are tiny. There we are. Just come at least with spares in that big kit of stuff. Good. Now, can this just be pulled out now? I had some pliers from earlier. There they are. Can we now just pull this out via one of the non-broken legs? Oh, possibly it's wanting to come out. Let me try and grab the plastic now and not the gold. Aha! So that is what we've got here. So that is the damaged one. Try and make sure we got the same, and I think we have. Just going to connect it. There's a little connector stuck at the end of the wing. I'm going to try and connect those. I'll be honest, if it had just come out as a servo lead, I may have just left it there. But now it's something strange. So, okay, so I've got it connected on there, the new one, and now I'm just going to try and, without going anywhere near the pins, push this back in, like so. And then these little screws work over the bench, they don't go on the floor. They are so small. This is like the one time where I wish a kit did come with a screwdriver specifically for it. Where the hell did you just go? As I say, it's a good job I have spares, but I didn't want to have to go into them that soon. I'm going to try and find a smaller screwdriver. Why are all the tiny screwdrivers flat heads? That's the problem I'm having at the minute. No. Why are they all flat heads? This one might be our best bet. Now can I see where that screw went? Not like under a tripod, like no, because I heard it like rattling against something. Never mind, we have the technology. Have we got I'll use the box from this as well. these longer screws, I think. Aha! So that's that fixed. Fingers crossed. Otherwise I'm going to screw. So I'm just taking a chunk out of the tail of my flex jet. That's fantastic. Could have popped everything in this box, I think. Obviously except the stupidly long elevator control rod. How secure does that feel? Not brilliant. Let's put a bit of tape on it. The world's worst masking tape will do. Now let's do this properly. I've got the plain bits drawer. That's got nothing in it, it can go in the bin. Nothing in it, can go in the bin. Right. So now our next thing is, let's get the wings plugged in. Need to take the screw out. Oh, I need the control rod, which is in a bag in the bottom of the wing bag. And the wing goes in here. Make sure it lines up, of course. Nice, he doesn't line up brilliantly. It's not. Yeah, it's going to be really hard for me to show you this. But these pins, you see they're not in the middle. I'm really scared of bending these and breaking it again. Okay, believe that's fitted, or it has snapped off, one or the other. Let's have a look. Oh no, I'll be honest with you, I'm really happy about how it is going together. The trouble is, I think a lot of people end up leaving this together. And to be honest with you, if it was my own workshop and things, I think I'd love to, I'd probably keep this built up as well. But no, everything that can be taken apart has to be taken apart so it can be stored easier. But again, they do advertise it being able to be taken apart and chucked in a box and things like that to make it as small as possible. So we shouldn't have the issue. Right, I'm going to grab a battery and retract the camera before I forget. A 3400 word TUS. Got my goggles out. And actually, it's the wrong goggles technically. I've got 5.8. This is not 5.8. Let me grab that radio. because this is still running R9 on the X7S. Let me put my R9 module in.
Welcome to OpenTX. Switch warning. Engines armed.
So I want the drift.
Engine disabled. Manual mode. Altitude hold. Off. Off. Attitude mode. Off.
It's a very complicated radio, possibly for my detriment. Just to make my life easier and safer, I'm going to take the prop off. Oh, Jesus, that's a challenge. Right. So I'm going to take the lid off. Plug in the 2S. Try to launch it across the room so you can get angry with it for some reason. Do the other ones work? Praise be for that. Now, with everything back, yeah, there's some sort of gyro going on there that shouldn't be. Let me put the goggles on and just see if I can see anything on the on-screen display that explains things. Ah, wrong goggles. I'll be back shortly when I've assembled the correct ones. Okie dokie. So what I've done is I had the plane outside to get GPS and everything, in case it not having GPS means it won't go into certain modes. I'm fairly sure that wasn't the case, but I thought we'll rule it out, we'll stick it outside and let it get GPS, which it did fairly quickly. Once I'd unplugged and replugged it, once it was outside, sort of 2 or 3 minutes, it was fine. And considering that the last time it was plugged in, it was finding GPS at a different location, I don't think that's too bad. Now, what it boils down to, the problem with the fact that the GPS, the gyro seems to be on all the time, is that clearly something is wrong with the way I have all the switches set up. Because I didn't have return to launch, but I can't turn the radio on because actually the battery's gone flat. But from the voice, I had manual mode. I found out it was on, it's really hard to show you, this switch all the way up there is manual mode. It wasn't working. Also this switch, I have it the same on all models, this switch down is return to launch. So it doesn't matter what flight controller is in there. And also a lot of people at my field who do FPV have it at the same place, because that it was one of the only, there's two on the original 10, which is what we originally used. There's only 2 3-position switches, the one here and the one that's normally here but's missing on this. So regardless of flight controller, regardless of who it is, we always try and have return to launch there. So if oh crikey, what's going on, we can flick the switch. There's no thinking, oh, this is iNav, and it was the old version of iNav, which means it's there. No, return to launch is always there, regardless of FY421, iNav, SNL OWL that I've just set up, the ZOHD Copilot. Return to launch always on that switch. Also means if anyone becomes incapacitated, anyone who's an FPV flyer, you know, people thinking, oh, there's a plane that's a kilometre away doing something or whatever, FPV pilot knows flick that to return to launch, and then you can deal with the person while the plane comes back, and then, you know, when you're ready, the FPV person can flick it out and land it. So, I need to sort out the modes. Easiest way to work out what's happening with that is just to plug it into iNav and see what the hell's happening. And that's the easiest way to do things. I'm not going to do that tonight because, to be honest with you, I'm knackered. It's 11:02 in the evening. I have been at work today. So, plug that in, see what it's like, see if it's massively out or if it's just a couple of things that need swapping or whatever. If it's just a couple of things that need swapping, I'll do it. We'll test fly it on the X7S with the R9 and we'll go from there. If it's more complicated than that, I've got two options. What I can do, the lazier option, which is the easier option, is I take off all of the sound and all of the switches off of the radio, and the same in the plane, and I use Painless 360's video to go through and use his tutorial to set up all the modes, because I've got a billion modes on here. Every single switch is used, and I could have done with some more when I was first setting it up, and I think that's a horrible idea. I'm just going to go back to something a bit more basic, probably very similar configuration to what I have on the SNL Owl. Or the other option, I'll tell you in a moment, because I need the bathroom. Right, I'm back, nice and refreshed. So what I was speaking about before, about the sort of reset the modes and set them up as per Painless 360's videos, is kind of like a plan A.5. But the thing is the reason why I bought this plane, because I was done with iNav. The first attempt, no, it was shite, I gave up, no thank you. That one technically flew. This one hasn't flown yet, but that one flew. The reason why I bought this plane is because Matt had his dump log, so that I could just copy and paste it into iNav, run it, and it should fly. That didn't happen. I ended up spending absolutely ages trying to get this working. We're sort of there. As I say, the only thing I feel like the only thing that we need to do is modes. And again, if it's a case of, oh, a couple of sliders didn't save, I forgot to click save or whatever, I might just do that. But the thing is where do we go from here? So I bought this plane. The only reason I bought this plane is for iNav, to figure out iNav, see if I like it, or if not, sell everything to do with it and just go, no, I'm not interested. And by the time that you may see this video, iNav 3.0 might have come out. I'm recording this on May the 19th, so it's a little bit different. That is coming, it's on its way, it's nearly done apparently. End of June, I think they say, is the sort of date they're aiming for, this quarter, so end of June would be the end of the quarter. But even so, it might be a case of I might leave it to have a few, you know, 3.0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 to make sure everything's all ironed out. Because as I've said before, I'm not much of a tinkerer. I like things to work and then leave it. That's why I have dedicated planes for tinkering. I want products to be done and finished. Back to what I was saying. So what I have on my iPad, for example, is I have a big list of flight controllers. I did a video on the different flight controllers. It is on the channel somewhere. You can have a look. I'm just going to bring up Notepad. There's a few different types. There's loads of different types on there. There's even more that I've added on since then. Different variations and stuff. Because the FI-51 is a thing. I didn't know that. Pretty much brand new. I have one on the way. Probably watching this, so I already have it. But the idea is that at the minute I have two planes sat on my shelf. I have a mini Drac from Right Wing, and I have a Funjet Ultra, which you might think, oh, Funjet Ultras are pretty common, you know, and the Funjet Ultra 2s and things like that. This one's special to me because I bought it in 2016. That's right, it's been on the shelf now officially for 5 years, because we went in May to Joe Knoll in 2016, and I bought it there, took it back on the plane. Technically, you could say it's the world's fastest Funjet because it was doing 600 miles an hour in the whole of a A330 or whatever it would have been. So while it might not sound special, it's a little bit more special to me. It's like a memoir that I haven't really been able to use as of yet. What I'd like to do is I don't know what flight control to put into it. I bought them thinking FY41. I know it works, it's brilliant. Trouble is, a bit big and bulky for both models. The mini jack is a bit easy to put stuff in, but I'm thinking at the front I'm going to have like a camera and the thing. It's just a bit bulky, and then you have to have loads of cables inside. Possibly the easiest way to get around both of these models is the FI51, because it's slightly smaller, has S-Bus, not a billion cables going into it like the 41 does, because the 41 is old now. So, you know, maybe the 51 is just the way forward, but maybe iNav is. For example, another model I have on the shelf is a mini Skywalker, or a nano Skywalker, whatever you want to call it. And the problem is a lot of these flight controllers you can't mount on the side. You can, you know, front, left, back, no, front, right, back and left is fine, but you can't rotate it, for example, that way, or have it upside down. iNav is pretty much the only flight controller where you can do that. You know, you can't have it completely skew with, but if you have it like bang on 90 degrees, it's fine, because the Skywalker is quite tall but a thin fuselage, so ideally I'd want it mounted on its side on the fuselage wall. Now, to go back to this plane, I could set it with Matthew Ogborn settings, get the motor set up in a similar way, or in a sensible way, should I say. And then this flies, and it's brilliant, and I decide, excellent, I love iNav. This is a flight control that I can see me putting in more planes. That's fine, but the problem is, how am I going to put it in the next plane? You know, this is like a test bed, I guess. It's another test bed aircraft dedicated to iNav. The thing is then if I use matte settings, the next plane again is going to be a test bed. I think what I was thinking for a while before I got the SNLL is I would probably then put iNav in the Z84 that's got the SNLL in it, and can change his settings to work that. But the problem is with that is I'm always going back to matte settings. Two problems with that. One, if you have a plane that's completely different to this, so you know it's a flying wing, not a traditional plane. It's running on LiPo, not lithium ions, and it's a 6-cell, not a 2-cell. And I'm to change all this stuff. Maybe you should have started from scratch. And I think the more I've talked about this, the more I've sort of talked myself into this, that what I think I'm going to do is reset iNav, get it to the latest version of, I might put 3 on it. The thing is that none of the tutorials are out for 3 yet, because it isn't fully out. All the tutorials are for 2.5 and things like that. From what I've seen from 3.0, just so I can get used to using the latest version, the thing I've seen from 3.0 is, in terms of setup, not a lot has changed. There's a few things like auto-tune is slightly different. Some people seem to be confused that once you auto-tune it, you can't use the stabilize mode. No, it just means that while you're setting it up, you can't use the stabilize mode, and afterwards it works fine. So yeah, what I think I may do is flash this with the, I'm not 100% sure on 2.6 or 3.0 yet. I might just do 2.6 because, or whatever the latest 2 version is. Flash it with that, and I'm going to run through Painless 360 tutorial, I think, because I'm doing it then. I know I'm following a tutorial, but it's me that's doing it, not just copying and pasting someone saying it's me that's setting it up. And once it's done, we can go from there. There are going to be some things that I'm going to have to learn to sort out, like the lithium ion stuff. And what I'm going to do before I reset it is I'm going to dump the file off of this. For example, I really like the way the OSD looks. The OSD looks brilliant to me. What I can do is I can copy and paste the OSD back in and have the OSD the same, which will be useful. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do, because if I learn how to program this, I'll probably still use the tutorials and explain that I get, but if this works and I'm happy with it, because another thing is, in his video he's setting up a nano drag and then a dart the original DAW, not the 250, the original DAW, which I, funnily enough, have one of with iNav still in it. That's the only plane that's ever flown with iNav on it, and it crashed. And I just went, nope, iNav can get fucked the first time. This is iNav 2 for me, and then I'm going to move on to iNav 3, possibly with iNav 3. But anyway, as part of that, I will rip out the R9 system, put in the TBS Crossfire diversity receiver I've got, and pop it on the Radiomaster. Yeah, I think I've decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to think about it again tomorrow when I have more of a clear head, or whenever I next come in the workshop, and just decide what I'm going to do 100%. But as of now, at 20 past 11 at night, I think I'm going to reset iNav, do it from scratch, learn how to do it properly. I can see why I was going down this route the first time, because, to be honest with you, I was sick and fed up. I wanted to give it another try because I had models that I bought for iNav and then suddenly decided I didn't like iNav. So I bought this, put this in, and we're close but no cigar. So I'm going to, I think, reset everything, learn how to do it myself, because then I'll have the confidence of the next play that I decide to put it in, that I can go from there. Again, the FI51 makes things spicy, because in terms of the bigger stuff, I can have FI51. Smaller stuff that needs the room, I can have an SNL, presumably I can get more of them. And of course I've also got the co-pilot. So I like the co-pilot. I haven't flown the SNL Owl yet, but I'm happy with the setup. I just wish I could get them a bit easier. And I'm happy with the FI41, so I'll probably be happy with the FI51. Happy with the SNL Owl, and I'm happy with the co-pilot, and I just need to test which OSD I like to go with it. So I don't want a billion different flight controllers, but I do want to kind of test them all, both for my sake and for the channel. Good views and stuff. But I want it to be like, when I build a plane, I know what I'm going to put in it. So, for example, until recently it was always an FI41 with flight controllers. If I want a cheap camera that just gets pushed to the nose, I have the no-name Banggood cameras that I like. If I need it to have a proper stand, it was a Runcam Swift. Things like that. It was kind of like, oh, I'm building a plane, I need a camera. Right, well, it's this type of plane, I need that camera. As opposed to not knowing what to put in. And probably because it's so late at night, I do this. But yeah, basically the long shot of this last 12 minutes is, I think I'm going to move it onto the Radiomaster, including swapping over the receiver to TBS. I've got the receiver for this. Reset iNav back to factory settings on, I think I'm going to go for the latest 2 version. Go for a tutorial, learn how to set it myself, because then if I know I can set it myself, shouldn't be a problem. I can go through, I can do all the auto-tuning stuff myself on this and go, right, that's how you do things. That's another thing, how to auto-tune. Bit of a ball ache. FI41, you put it in, it flies. So, I am going to go down that route, I think. So you're going to see just lots more of me faffing around on the computer. But we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching and listening to my ramble. If you have any feedback on what I should do, feel free to leave it in the comments. Subscribe if you're new and for some reason you want more of this. And like if you enjoy. I'm not sure if I said that or not. But yeah, I'm going to do a bit of tidying up in case I don't come back down here tomorrow so my dad can do stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. Look at me waving in the screen of the Tyrannis.